Hey guys, welcome back to Fantasy Tips. My name is Julian, and in today's episode, we're going to be continuing that series of episodes that I've been making, talking about each individual NHL team, talking about their players, and talking about if I think you should draft those players or not. Today's episode is obviously about the Philadelphia Flyers. Before we get started, guys, please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Trying to hit 1,000 subs this year. You guys are being great so far. So if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscription bell. It would mean the world to me. Without further ado, let's jump into the Flyers lines that I am projecting. And on that top line, we have Giroux, Couturier, and Travis Konecny. On that second line, we have James Van Riemsdyk, Morgan Frost, and Farabee, although Frost will end up changing to Kevin Hayes when he's healthy. And on the third line, we have Lindblom, Brassard, and Atkinson. On defense, we got Provorov, Ellis, Sanheim, Ristolainen, Yandle, and Braun. And in nets, we have Hart and Martin Jones. Now let's jump into the individual players on the Flyers, and the guy who's being drafted the highest on the team is Ryan Ellis. And Ellis is a great player. Ellis has been able to get a point every 2 games throughout his whole career without top power play time. Last year, he only had 2 power play points. It goes to show you that he's able to get that pace without really relying on the power play. Playing top pairing with Provorov as well as second power play in Philly, I don't really see that changing too much. Although Philly does play both their power plays a decent amount if they do the same thing as they did last year. If that's the case, Ellis' numbers could go up a little bit. I have him as a so-so, but I do like Ellis. I think he's a safe pick. The only reason I have him as a so-so is because I do prefer the next guy on this list, and that's Ivan Provorov. Provorov, on the other hand, had 10 power play points last year, but he was already shifted to the second power play at some point in the season when Shane Gostisbehere was getting a lot of the top power play time. So I'm not too worried about Provorov's numbers going down that much because he's only playing second power play. And that's because, like I said, Philly deployed both their power play units pretty evenly last year, so we shouldn't take that much of a hit. Plus his peripherals are great, and his plus minus could get even better with Ryan Ellis by his side. And those peripherals are the reason that I'm drafting Provorov over Ellis. He shoots the puck a little bit more, and he blocks a lot more shots, and that makes him have a safer floor. Next is Carter Hart, and last year he had a disastrous season. No one can tell you differently. He just wasn't good last year. And Philadelphia as a whole, though, was not great last year. I see them rebounding this year. I think they're going to do a lot better. They've kind of improved their defense a little bit. And I see Carter Hart having a much improved season. He's going super late in drafts, so you cannot go wrong where he's currently going at 133 ADP. Next are Sean Couturier and Claude Giroux, and I do believe they're being slept on a little bit in draft. They're both super elite players. They're very talented. They're going to be playing top line, top power play, and Philadelphia, I think, is going to do better this year. Couturier especially is being slept on considering that he's going to be basically a point per game, and he's going super late for the one and only reason because he's a center. If you guys wait in your draft to grab a second centerman, Couturier is going to be there around 143 overall. Makes for a pretty good pick. Another great thing about both of these guys, though, is they both win a lot of faceoffs, and that'll help you in categories leagues where that is a category. Next is Rasmus Ristolainen, and Ristolainen is not a good player. I don't know why Philly wanted him. In fantasy, he's useful, this year at least, for one thing, and one thing only. That's hits. He's going to be reduced to basically a Hakanpää role this year. All hits and basically no points. He's not going to be getting any power play time at all with the defense that Philly has with Yandle, with Ellis, with Provorov. So I think he caps out at about 20 points, but he is definitely good at hitting. He ended up with 4th in the league in hits last year. So if your league really prioritizes hits, I might consider him, but otherwise I'm not really touching him with a 10-foot pole unless I'm streaming him in a categories leagues where I'm really behind on hits that particular week. Next is Keith Yandle, and I really like Keith Yandle this year because as of right now, he's practicing on Philadelphia's top power play. What does that mean? Well, it means guaranteed points for Yandle, and throughout his career, he's always been able to score a lot of points on a top power play. That locks him in for at least 40 points this year if he can stay on that top power play, which I think he will. And you really cannot go wrong considering he's going so freaking late in drafts. Makes for a great late round steal. Next is Cam Atkinson, and I'm indifferent to Atkinson this year. He's going to have an okay season. Right now, he's practicing on only the 3rd line, though, so he's not really going to set the world on fire, but I think he's going to have an okay season and score around 50 points. Next is Joel Farabee. Right now, he's only being drafted in 39% of leagues, and last year, his shooting percentage was high. But I think he's a very talented player, and Right now he's slotted on the second line with JVR and Morgan Frost, so I'm excited to see what they can do at the beginning of the season. Frost is a very, very talented prospect, and I think this year he's finally going to show what he's made of. You're probably drafting Farabee pretty late in your draft anyway, so if he doesn't work out, you can drop him and grab somebody else. Not a huge deal. Next is Travis Konecny, and he's someone that I'm actually quite high on this year. Last year, only 34 points in 50 games. It wasn't even that bad, but he's going to be continuing to play on that top line with Giroux and Couturier, as well as the top power play right now, it looks like. So Konechny's going to have every chance to succeed this year, and I think he has a nice bounce-back season. I honestly can't believe he's only being drafted in 35% of leagues. Next is JVR, and last year had an amazing season with 43 points in 56 games. I'm surprised he's not being drafted higher. If he was being drafted higher, I probably wouldn't go for him, but right now he's only being drafted in less than 20% of leagues and pretty late. So yeah, a lot of people thought that Philly might prioritize their younger guys on the top power play this year, but no, right now JVR is still on that top unit with Couturier, with Konechny, with Giroux, and with Keith Yandle. So if he sticks in that spot, he's going to do pretty well. He's also practicing on the second line, so I can't really see him doing too badly. I don't mind JVR where he's currently slotted to be deployed. Next is Kevin Hayes. Last year had a pretty decent season with 31 points in 55 games. The reason he's not being drafted in 92% of leagues is because he's injured right now. Gonna miss the first month of the season with abdominal surgery. Now he's gonna be dedicating the season to his brother's memory, Jimmy Hayes, who passed away only a few weeks ago. So that's pretty fresh for him. But I see him trying to really tear it up this season. And when he comes back from injury, could be a real steal. So if you got an IR spot, he's someone that I might consider adding to your team after your draft. It would make me so happy to see him have an amazing, amazing season in his brother's honor. And last but not least is Morgan Frost. And for that first month of the season with Kevin Hayes out, he's going to have that second line duty alongside Farabee and JVR. That's a pretty good spot to be in. And right now he's also doing reps on the second power play unit. So he can have a nice breakout potentially that first month of the season. And if he does, he may end up being Philadelphia's permanent second line center, which would move Hayes to the third line. I'm not necessarily drafting him though, since he's only being picked in 2% of leagues. So he's someone you could keep your eye on. And if he does start catching fire, you could add him to your team right away. And that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. Please leave a like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next episode of Fantasy Tipped.